Right. Hi, Elena.
How are ya?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm just renaming myself.
Sure. Sounds great. Elena, just change your name. I mean, I know you now, but just change your name to your name. Hi, Brian.
Hey.
And Denise is here. Hello, Jim. So, Elena, may I ask you to be my enforcer today of time? Kind of like what Brian
Sure.
did last time. I would
Sure.
like to save 20 minutes at the end for our breakout session. So
Okay.
if you could just be like, Yolanda, you have to stop talking now at 12:40, that would be
Sounds
great.
good. Yep.
Thank you. Hi, Sarah. All the leaders are here. Yay.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, awesome.
You up north, Jim?
I am, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's beautiful up here.
Yeah.
I've got like, it looks like I've got a foot of leaves on my drive. It's, I'm gonna run out of gas with my leaf blower like 5 times getting them off.
Oh, that's all. You just blow them off, eh?
Yeah, I'm not even gonna start because there's still like 70% of the leaves are still in the trees.
Yeah.
So
Is
I
it
guess I'll wait.
is it like shoveling in a big snowstorm where it makes sense to do a couple sessions or no?
Nah, not really, not really.
Yeah, yeah.
I just wait, just get it all. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait for a dry day, I guess, too, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like even now, there it's a little wet, so I can't. I was thinking maybe I'll do them today, but it is a little wet. But anyway, I'll just wait it out.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Sorry to interrupt Jim and Brian. Jim, can I make
No,
you
no, we're not
co-host?
talking anything important.
So
Talking
you
about leaves.
could, no, it's important to talk about beautiful weather. I think that's very important. We're talking about self-compassion today, so that's absolutely important. But Jim, I'm gonna get you to be my co-host. If you can let people in
Perfect.
as they come in, that would be awesome. And I really appreciate everyone doing the midpoint feedback because I'm implementing 2 of the changes today that you have requested. So it's important to give feedback because you never know what you might get if you share. All right. It is a beautiful day today. I think I mentioned to you guys how I'm obsessed with paddleboarding. Whenever I see a weather like this, I'm always thinking, is this a good day for me to go paddleboarding? Maybe this is the last time in the season for me. So maybe today's the day. Hi, Jacqueline. How are you? And Tracy is here. And Aisha, if everyone could just please change your name from Yolanda, that way. Hi, Raul. How are you? And great. Okay. So we're going to do just an opening exercise of breathing just to set everyone into the intention of our course today, but also just wherever you're coming from to kind of let that go and just be present with everyone here. All right, I'm going to ask you to put your right hand on your heart and left hand on your belly. And we're just going to do 3 triangle breathing, which is what we were learning last time as well. All right. Oh, let me just let this person in before. All right. Okay. So if you're feeling comfortable, close your eyes and sit comfortably in your chair. Most important is to have your back supported. And we're just going to breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold it, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. And really let your belly inflate and let your left hand feel that inflation. So second time, breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold it, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. And last time, breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold it, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. Hopefully everyone is feeling great today and we're here. I'm really excited about, I can't believe it's already session 4. I'm really going to miss you guys once we're done this. I keep saying this every time, but it's true. Every time I put this together, I'm like, but this means it's going to end soon. Okay. All right. So this is what we're going to be doing today. And we're going to, like always, do our program intentions, agreements. We're going to recap a bit about what we learned last time, which is the shitty first draft. Today, I thought I'd try a new exercise. It's this article that Denise shared with me, which I loved. And it was a really neat idea. Hey, Marlon,
Hey.
where we're gonna each share a personal thing about ourselves that you don't think that the rest of the group knows about. Okay. And you can go as personal as you want, or you can go as, non-personal, whatever it is you feel comfortable with at whatever level you're comfortable with. Okay. I will kick it off. So don't worry. And then today we're going to talk about self-compassion, which is what you read from Dare to Lead as well. And then I'm going to share with you 2 more tools for communication that build upon this concept of shitty first draft. Oh, and hi, John. I see John there too. Okay. And then we're going to do some practice today. So like I mentioned earlier, I really appreciate all of you who have submitted the midpoint feedback. And so today I'm going to implement 2 of those suggestions. So one of those suggestions was if you could please have a chance to choose your own partners. And we're definitely doing that. So a lot of you have already emailed me back with who you want to work with today. And if you haven't emailed me back, I'm just going to make an executive decision for you. And then the second thing that I'm doing is almost everyone who replied to the midpoint feedback said more breakouts, more time. So I'm asking Elena to be my enforcer today so that we make sure that we definitely have the 20 minutes today for our breakout. Okay. And then we're going to have a session wrap up, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what our upcoming team communication challenge is going to look like. It's going to be so cool. I'm getting really excited about it. I'm actually going to be inviting a surprise judge to be attending as well. So I'll tell you more about that at the end. So could I please have someone to read out our program intention? If it's okay, I'm going to call on someone who I may not have heard from yet, if it's okay. And you always have the chance to pass if you're not comfortable. Is it all right if I ask Tracy to read the program intention?
To transform perspectives, create inner peace, and deepen personal and professional relationships through vulnerable dialogues.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, let's give Tracy some jazz hands. Thank you, everybody. And now our program agreements. Does somebody want to read our program agreements? Maybe someone who I haven't heard your beautiful voice before. Maybe Yomi? Would Yomi like to do that?
Sure.
Okay.
Keep an open mind. Be okay with vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
Trust the process. And there are no dumb questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Yomi. Perfect. So just keep those things in mind, of course. So let's kick off with a vulnerable share. And so sharing with everyone something personal about you that you don't think that the team would know about. And so I'm going to start, and I know I've been sharing vulnerably through all the sessions. So it was actually hard for me to choose something that maybe Denise doesn't know about me as well. So my vulnerable personal share is that before having my daughter, I had lost 2 pregnancies, and it was a very difficult and devastating experience. And I'm really grateful for my daughter. So that's my vulnerable share that I don't think anyone knows here. Who would like to go next? And we'll give everyone a jazz hands at the end. And you have the opportunity to pass if this is really uncomfortable for you. But like I said, you can share anything. You can say, my favorite food is hummus, or I hate ice cream, and just something people may not know about. So who would like to go next? Brian, you look unmuted. How about you go?
I'm on the spot here. I love I love playing guitar and listening to old records.
Great. Thank you, Brian. And we'll give everybody jazz hands at the end, but Elena, I love your enthusiasm. That's perfect. Who would like to go next?
I'll go.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Actually, it was interesting. Tracy shared, says somewhere, through Sun Life, we could get therapy. So I actually started seeing a therapist 10 years ago, and I've been with the same therapist for the same past 10 years. And it was initially through the program that Tracy shared, but it ended up going, like, I went through that and then I ended up with the same therapist for 10 years through that program. So
That's great.
why.
Sometimes when you share, you don't even know the impact you can have on someone's life.
Mhm. So I think it was great that Tracy shared it, because we have so many tools that we're unaware of, or we have access to so many good sources that we're unaware of. And I thought, like, that was at my previous company that I used to work at, Travelers. And a coworker, a friend, brought it up to me that we have this tool, and I used it, and it was very useful. And then through that, I got, I now have a partner in life that's with me all the time, and
That's
I
so
could
great.
go to.
Yes. Thank you for sharing. And, you know, sharing is caring. So
Mhm.
that's great. Thank you, Sarah. Who would like to go next?
I'll go next.
Okay, Denise.
Well, like Sarah, I also have a therapist. I've seen them on and off over the course of probably 10 or some odd years. And I think initially there's like the stigma of doing that, but now it's a tool or a resource that I use on a regular basis. And I don't always go back on a regular basis, but when things come up, especially when you have kids, all the demons sort of come up, then I'll call her up and talk to her about some of the issues, and it sort of helps me work things out. So yeah, I find it an invaluable tool sort of to help me be better as a mom, as a employee, as a wife, as a friend. So it's a coping resource for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the best therapists come from referrals. And I actually have a team of 3 therapists that I work with for different things. I have a marriage therapist, I have a therapist for me, and then I have a therapist, well, coach for work. So I think it takes a team, you know, to make us who we are, to strengthen ourselves from the inside. So I'm really glad that you guys are sharing. And if any of you need referrals to therapists, you have Sarah and Denise to ask as well. And me, I'm happy to refer my team of tools as well. All right, who would like to go next? How about Marlon? Marlon, you're unmuted as well.
Well, I have siblings that are, all over the States, and I have a brother in Jamaica. So just missing my family and extended family, especially during COVID.
Yeah.
But even before that, just being all over the place. I know there's others in our team in that same type of boat as well, but for sure.
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the toughest parts about the pandemic, is that connection piece with the ones you love, right? For sure. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Marlon. Jim, would you like to go?
Yeah, I would. I'm just thinking of what to share that people don't already know. I tend to talk a lot and say everything, so I'm just yeah, Brian, what don't you know?
That's a good question.
What don't you know?
Yeah.
Jim has a modeling career on the side.
Yeah, I wish that was the case. Yeah.
Okay, what's your biggest fear?
What's my biggest
Oh,
fear? You know what? I'll tell you, yeah, that's it. I am, my biggest fear is getting tossed off the side of a boat and drowning. And I say that because Brian, I've been on his boat a couple of times, but there's always that sense of panic, especially because, I feel safe in your hands, Brian, but I am scared of the water, and plus I get very bad seasick. So that's I'm getting over it though. Brian's making me much more comfortable.
Mm.
Aw, I feel the love. Actually, I'm with you. That is my biggest fear too, drowning. Scary because I don't know how to swim well. But thank you for sharing that. Brian, did you know that? Did you know that Jim is scared of drowning?
I knew he didn't like boats particularly, and that he got seasick. I didn't know the drowning part.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a tough. You know, it's a little. When I can see the land, I'm good. Like Marie, my wife has just booked us. Maybe this is too much of a share, but we're going to Turks and Caicos, and she's booked us for this whole day boat ride. I'm like, it's not going to be that much fun for me. But anyway, we'll see.
It's never too much share. But yes, thank you. You should tell her about your fear of drowning. Or maybe that's why she's booking the
She
boat
knows. She
ride.
doesn't care. We're going anyway.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, it's something I would do to my husband too. So, okay, who would like to go next?
I can go.
Okay, go ahead. Oh, do you mind changing your name to your
Oh.
name? Okay,
Sorry.
it's okay.
Rename. Okay. Can you see my
Oh
actual
yeah,
name
it's
now?
changed. Yeah, go ahead, Corinne.
All right. I went to the same school since I was, well, since first grade to like 10th grade. But even then I had horrific public speaking anxiety to the point where I would almost pass out. And I always found that really strange because I've known these people since I was like 5 or 6. And it's something I've really, really, really worked hard to get past. I still struggle with public speaking, just something about a bunch of people looking at you just makes me want to die inside a little bit, but
Yeah.
miles away from how it was before.
Well, you know, they say public speaking, it's people's second most prevalent fear after death. So it's quite common. I was going to share a story later about my own experience of public speaking. But I'll save that for later. But thank you for sharing that. That's really great. And you're not alone, just so you know that. Anyone else want to share before? I'm not going to call on people for this one because I just want to make sure that you're comfortable. But
Well, since you mentioned death, I wanted
Okay.
to say, and I've been trying to figure out if I want to share it or not, but I laugh at funerals. Not intentionally, I laugh at funerals. And I
Is
have to
it-
walk away.
yeah. Could it be because you actually are not sure how to process the emotions,
Probably,
grief and death?
probably 100%. But yeah, that's one of the things. And it's terrible, but that's what it is.
Not overly uncommon.
Yeah,
I
I've
do
seen
that
that
too.
in a lot of like sitcoms where people do that as well. It's actually, I think, quite a human reaction because
The coping mechanism.
it's a
Yeah.
coping mechanism. Yeah, it's like the extremes, right? You cry or you laugh. So you're experiencing an extreme emotion. So instead of crying, you're laughing. But it's just not as socially, understood.
I would prefer if everybody was laughing at my funeral. So just so you know.
Laugh at your funeral,
Yeah.
Brian.
Go ahead. If you're ever at my funeral, feel free to laugh.
Yeah.
When I drowned in Turks and Caicos, they laughed at my funeral.
That's great. We have open invitation to laugh at funerals. So Elaine, I hope that makes you feel a bit better. So anyone else would like to share?
I can.
Okay, go ahead, Yomi.
Well, I just want to let everybody know that I can't swim and I can't ride a bicycle. So there's a team build event that involves going near water.
Unless there's swimming lessons. We're gonna go do
Brian
swimming
can teach you.
lessons.
Brian taught Marlon to swim, so we
Wow.
get you there.
For real?
Yeah.
Nice.
I had him in the pool at the gym, floating on his back in my arms, saying, "It's okay, it's okay."
Aw,
It was very gentle.
wonderful.
100% true. 100%.
Oh my.
That's
He
great.
kept
So I hope
whispering,
Brian can help you too,
reassuring
Yomi.
statements in my ear. It was great.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay.
It's a really endearing image that I'm having in my head right now. of Brian holding Marlin in the water. And Yomi, you know, I don't swim, and I started loving paddleboarding. So paddleboarding is a great team building event. I'm actually going to be doing that next year with my team, and you don't have to know how to swim to do it. So just putting that out there for you. It actually made me feel really empowered that I'm conquering the water, even though I'm usually deathly afraid. So, all right, how about Raul and John? Would either of you want to go, or Joanna, would you like to go? Aisha, Eilish? Last call. 3, 2, 1. No? Okay. But that was really fun. Thank you for participating. I really appreciate that. So I want to do a little bit of a recap from last week, you know, where we talked about shitty first drafts. And I took out these glasses and I said, you know, you can wear them to look at things. Jim said it'd be great if you just like have them to look at things the way that you want, that makes you happy, which is so true. I always love Eckhart Tolle, even though his voice puts me to sleep, but I do love his philosophies. And this one we talked about last week, I just want to remind you again that you're in control of your thoughts. You're in control of the kind of glasses you wear to look at the situation as they are and how you want to interpret them. So just know that the power stays with you, and that you need to be aware of the thoughts that are actually dictating your feelings and your actions. So I want to kind of do a little bit of sharing here from your homework or your prep work, which was about any SFDs that you were able to rumble with, you know, between our sessions that may have helped you, whether it's at work or whether it's at home, or any personal SFDs you've created. If you want to kind of share a little bit about that, it would be really great. I have a really good one to share with you that happened to me. And I did rumble with that one because I knew we were meeting today, and I was like, all right, I better like walk the walk, even though I probably would normally have put it off a little bit longer, but I was like, no, I got to get this done now so I can share the story with my team on Thursday. So does anybody want to share an example of SFD that they have? I know you love the sound of my voice, so I'm just going to keep talking. Okay. So one of my very good friends, I don't know if any of you here have seen my speech that I shared with you in the video. Okay. Just Denise. Thanks, Denise. So this friend, I've been friends with him for over 21 years. He's actually the guy as part of my story for my speech that really saved my ass like 20 years ago from the hospital. Anyways, we're just like really good friends. And so I called him because one of my clients needed help finding some developers, and he's a CEO of an award-winning tech company with like 500 people. So he knows a lot of people in the tech area. So I called him and I was like, oh, I need your help. Do you know any developers that can maybe like help one of my clients? You know, can you connect me with somebody? And in this conversation, he was so short with me. He was like constantly cutting me off, not letting me finish what my story was, or like what I wanted to tell him, like, because I needed his help. And so I was getting really annoyed. Like I was starting to like put on this pair of like glasses, looking at the situation and really developing an SFD. And my SFD is always about not being enough, right? That's kind of like for my own childhood trauma. And I was like, well, I was like, the hell? Is his time worth more than mine just because he's some like fancy CEO now? Like I knew him when he was wearing PJs every day. Like, so I was just like really, really pissed. And I was getting like really short with him too. So the conversation was getting like nowhere good, right? And finally he's like, okay, fine, just like check this website. This will be good. I gotta go. And I was so upset because the whole time I just thought, I am not worth his time anymore. Like I am not enough for his time. But then I kind of sat back a little bit with myself and I used something like this. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit and just share with you how I calmed myself down. So today I'm going to share with you something called 4 questions. And this is, I thought, a really great way to test your SFD before you even rumble with somebody else. So these 4 questions are, is it true? Is it true that my friend thinks that he's better than me and that his time is worth more than mine? Maybe, I don't know. It's possible. So that's my answer for question 1. Question 2, can I absolutely know that it's true? And I think, man, he's like come through for me like all the time. So I don't really think that he thinks his time is worth more than mine or he's better than me. That has never really truly been the case, I guess. But maybe he thinks that now. So I'm still like got this SFD, right? I'm like, but he may have changed his mind. Now he does. And then the third question I challenged myself with is, well, how do I react when I think this thought? When I think this thought that he thinks his time is better, more than mine, then of course I get really upset. I'm like really annoyed and really angry, and I'm hurt, like really hurt. I'm like, how could he think that? My time is worth a lot too. And then you kind of go one level below. You say, well, can I see a reason to drop this thought? And I think, yeah, I guess there is a reason to drop the thought, because he definitely has proven to me that he doesn't think that his time is worth more than mine. And also, do I see a peaceful, stressful reason to keep this thought? And definitely no, because I wouldn't be feeling inner peace or stress-free when I think that one of my closest friends thinks that his time is worth more than mine. So there is definitely a reason for me to not keep this thought. And then the last question is, who would I be without this thought? So who would I be as a person? Who would I be as a friend if I could drop the thought that this good friend of mine thinks that his time is worth more than mine, and that's why he's acting like such a jerk when he's talking to me? So who would I be if I could just let that go? Well, I could be a good friend to him again, and I could also react in a peaceful, balanced way towards him and not be really hostile, which I was getting because he was really annoying me and he's triggering my SFD. So I kind of use those to really help me find peace again. And I called him and I said, another day, I called him, I was like, I'm coming over because I need to talk to you. And he's like, okay, like I'm really busy, blah, 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 again. And I was like, okay, well, it's just that last time when we talked, I created a story that you feel that I'm not worth your time anymore. And I need to talk to you in person. So he's like, yeah, no, what? Okay, sure, come. And so I talked to him in person. And, in the conversation with him, where I used some of these rumble starters, that we talked about last time, I just said, can you tell me more about what was happening for you when I called? Like, why were you interrupting me so much? Because that made me feel like I'm not worth your time, like the hell, and or whatever explicit I said. And then he's like, oh, when you called me, I wasn't even going to pick up because my daughter was about to be picked up for a play date. And I was trying to make sure that the oven is turned off. And it was so chaotic. But then because it's you, I picked up and I just wanted to make sure that you're okay. And like, what is it that you wanted, and answer your call. But it didn't seem like what you asked me was that urgent. So I was just like trying to get you off the phone so I can manage the pickup for the play date and then the oven and blah, blah, blah. Because his wife was away. And I was like, oh, I didn't know she was away. Are you okay? Because he's not really that competent with other things. And I was like, are you okay? Like, are you feeling okay? He's like, yeah, it's kind of stressful right now, but yeah, I'm okay. I was like, okay, you got to meditate. Okay. And he's like, okay, yeah, sure. He's like, are you still mad? I was like, no, I'm not mad. I didn't know what was happening. You were just being so rude. And I was just like thinking that you're too good for me now or something. And he's like, I would never think I'm too good for anybody. I was like, okay, fine. That's good. That's what I thought. So, and then like we hugged it out and I was like, next time, just tell me. Like, if you can't talk to me, just tell me. It's okay. And it felt really nice. And I called his wife who was away and I was like, hey, if you need any support, like just let me know. I'm also very good friends with her. So I was just like, so this happened with him. And I just want to make sure that, if you need support, let me know as well. So, so that was like a huge SFD that I rumbled through. And it's thanks to all of you actually, because I was like, well, I better get this homework done so that I can share this example. I didn't just make it up. It really happened. So that's mine. Anyone else rumbled with an SFD that you might want to share? Sarah, go ahead.
I've learned not to make assumptions.
Yes.
And so instead of assuming, I've learned to ask now. And I
That's
think it was
great.
a family pattern, and my husband reminded me of it because he would say, you're assuming,
Yeah.
or you're reading into it. So I'll give you an example that happened yesterday. My husband usually is really good at replying back, and yesterday he left the house and there was a couple of messages exchanged and I didn't hear from him, and I'm like, well, maybe he got hit by a car, maybe he died. So I called him, he picked up, and I knew he was very busy. I'm like, you're alive? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, bye. I hung up. Instead of assuming or going into it, I just made the call to stop assuming, and I just called him. But what you're saying, like, to summarize it, I have learned, even with friends, family, instead of assuming now, I just directly ask. Even if it's too direct, I rather skip all this assumptions, spending days brewing stories and making up stories and thinking what they're thinking, what's happening. I'll just go directly and ask them.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not way off there. I'm exactly with you. My mind goes to death almost immediately about everything. I'm like, oh my God, I'm never going to see him again. So no, I'm totally with you on that one. Catastrophizing is the way I function, which is not good for me, but thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And anyone else? Any
Sure, I'll
SFDs?
actually go. Yeah,
Go ahead.
I'll go.
Go ahead, Elena.
So this actually, sorry, Jim, it actually includes Jim. So I got a phone call last 2 weeks ago from a client. It was an email from a client where the client wants to discuss but does not want us to disclose any of the information to the other clients. So obviously my brain goes, uh-oh, this is not a good sign. Like, why am I not disclosing? And then I'm like, Jim, can you get on the call with me? So then I had the worst thoughts, and where Jim was like, nope, let's just hear out the facts and figure it out before you jump to conclusions. Really, that's what it was. So I'm like, it stuck with me because it's like, yes, I'm like, I know, I thought the worst because the client didn't want the other person to know, or the joint venture. And then I'm like, I just jumped. So yeah.
And how did that make you feel?
Until we heard, and it was an assumption until we heard of what was happening. It was all positive, but yeah.
Yeah. So what made you check that instead of just living with that story?
It was the phone call afterwards that proved that it was all positive instead of being negative.
That's great. That's great. So again, checking in on the assumptions or checking in on the SFDs could actually not only make you feel better, but make everybody feel better, right?
And sometimes it's good to have that second opinion. I do that all the time with my oldest daughter, who's getting to an age where I'm having trouble understanding her sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I'll do those stories that I'll make up about why she got mad about something. But it's good to have, like a second opinion, my wife, who will tell me, and it, kind of validate or invalidate what I'm thinking. And then I've done that a few times since we started this, where I'll go to her and she'll be upset, but I won't, I'll misinterpret why she's upset. She'll tell me the other reason, and that makes sense. But yeah, part of that validation process is good, having a good second opinion, someone because I'm sure that Jim probably put you at ease before you even got the right story. He kind of helped you say, don't, we might not have the story, but there's not a whole lot of point in making one up.
Definitely. And I think that a lot of the skills that you develop at home with checking in and having allies, like your wife is your ally to check in with things, is really helpful at work too, because you have allies at work as well. Like Elena used Jim for his help. And I know for my team, like sometimes we might get a really, prickly parent who complains about something that doesn't really make sense to us. and my administrator will check in with me or with our academic coordinator and just say, what's going on here? You know, what's the other side of the story? And so she's not feeling totally alone in battling something uncomfortable either. So making it okay to rely on your coworkers is a good thing, right? It's not, you're not alone, like in anything that you do. So, I mean, the whole reason Jim, Brian, Denise wanted to have this training is because they care so much about the team and they want to create this environment of clear communication and mutual support. So there's definitely an open door for everyone to get that support and to be able to have those allies and help with situations that may be difficult. Thank you, Brian. Okay, everybody gets jazz hands. I forgot the previous one. So big jazz hands for all the sharing. I love it. Thank you. So again, check frequently and check off. Yeah, go ahead, Lelena.
You got 5 minutes.
I've got 5 minutes. Can't do this in 5 minutes. Okay. All right. I'm going to do it. So we talked about self-compassion briefly, and I want to remind everybody that what you can extend to other people in terms of compassion and understanding really stems from how much you understand and love yourself. So I took a couple of quotes from Dare to Lead, which I want you to just read over and really understand that talking to yourself the way you would talk to someone you love is so important, because many of us have these negative self-talks and it's really loud, and also it's really damaging. And those words you would use to talk to yourself are ones that you probably would never use to talk to someone you love, like a child or a spouse or a best friend. So you really need to check in with yourself about how you are talking to yourself and how much compassion you actually have. I mean, the concept and the topic of self-compassion, I can spend a whole week on this with you, but I'm only going to touch on the kind of like the surface, and just to let you know how important it is for you to remember that. And I created a self-love meditation, which I posted and shared with all of you. I would love for you to try it. It's 3.5 minutes, not a lot of time, but it really will become a part of that, you know, key elements that Dr. Kristen Neff shared, which is what Brene Brown talked about as well, that self-kindness, that humanity. And the key piece for me in this is also that mindfulness, you know, that noticing of those truly negative thoughts. Okay. So, and I can touch on this again later as well. And the one thing that I know we've been talking about, the videos I sent you with Russell Brandt's interview with Brene Brown, and the concept that people are really trying their best. And how many people here are feeling skeptical about this? And like, don't be shy, raise your hand if you do, because I did. The first time when I read Brene Brown's Rising Strong, I was like, no way is everyone trying their best all the time. And I was like, I'm going to read this again. So I read that book again, and then I read it again in Dare to Lead. By the third time from Dare to Lead is when I truly understood what she meant. And it's really this quote that is the most important part of it, is that your life is better if you can assume that people around you are doing their best. And it keeps you out of your judgment, all the SFDs you create, and focus on what, and not focus on what it should be or could be. So I felt like that was so true. So it doesn't even really matter whether you can statistically prove that everyone is trying their best. The point is, why would you believe anything else? Why would you create situations and circumstances for yourself to feel at some kind of unease or disappointment all the time? So when I really embraced this, after reading her books 3 times, 2 times Rising Strong, 1 time Dare to Lead, and I truly embraced this, I swear to you, my life is so much better, especially the way I look at my husband and the way that he's running my company now. I'm like, he's just doing his best. It's not the way I would do it, but he is doing his best. And that's all that matters. And I encourage you, if you are still skeptical and you don't want to admit it in front of everyone, which is fine, I encourage you to read that part again and again and again. Yeah, Marlon, what were you going to say?
Done, 12:40.
No,
Okay. My
I'm
enforcer has
skeptical
spoken.
of
Okay,
that.
sorry, Marlon, go ahead. No,
Oh,
Marlon, go ahead.
no, I'm-
Okay, Elena, can I
no,
have a
I'm
minute
saying
to
I'm-
talk to Marlon? Is that okay? All right, she's giving me the green light. Go ahead, Marlon.
No, I'm just saying I'm skeptical of, I'm saying I'm skeptical of people always doing their best. Maybe because I think I can always do better myself. I don't know if I'm always doing my best. There's days where you might have an off day, for example, and I assume everyone has off days. And I think that, I always strive to be better than I was yesterday. If I believe that I'm already my best, then why would I evolve and become better? I guess it depends on how you're defining best, but I think, there are people who do things that are objectively not appropriate or not good, and it's cut and dry. What you're doing is not right. So are you just saying based on their circumstances, their upbringing, their whatever, that's the best they can do, and so it's acceptable? But I don't know. I think people can be better. I think I can be better. So
I totally hear you. And I think that Brian and Denise want to respond to this. So I'll let them have the stage and then I'll add to it after they're done. So Brian and then Denise.
Yeah, really quickly, the way I interpret it, maybe it's not the right way to do it, but, if you approach somebody on the street, you've never met, or if you're just having an interaction with someone, you may make these assumptions or make these stories about how that person may not be doing their best. And I think that's the part where you really have to just assume that they're doing their best and then be proven wrong. Like if somebody, steals my wallet and I catch them red-handed and take my wallet back, like I'm not going to think that that person is doing their best because they've demonstrated that they're not, as opposed to, you prejudge someone or you just assume that someone's not doing their best, but they could if you without all the facts, you should make these assumptions that people are doing their best. But if somebody has done something or is actively doing something that is like threatening or whatever the case is, and you have that quantifiable evidence, like that's the part where I would be troubled to try to assume that they were doing their best in light of having the facts proving that they aren't doing their best, if you know what I mean. That's kind of like my take on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. That definitely makes sense. I think everybody interprets this in a slightly different way based on their own experiences. So I appreciate Brian's adding that perspective. Denise, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I think I do want to believe that everybody is doing their best for my own sanity, but also I think for the most part, yes. I think when it becomes an issue is when it affects me in some way, or my life or my work or my something. And then when that happens, I think the easy go-to is to stick with your SFDs and run with that. But I think the goal of this course and the goal of for us to do better as leaders of ourselves is to lean in and say, okay, so maybe this person is not doing their best, but why are they not doing their best, and dig in, as opposed to doing your SFDs, back channeling, back talking, gossiping, whatever the case is, to make your SFD even truer and bigger. But if you were to go in and say, what's going on? This is the outcome of your behavior or something. I want to hear firsthand, because I think if it affects you and therefore you care, then I think you owe it to yourself and everybody else, that other person, to sort of lean in and be curious, as opposed to make assumptions and say, nope, that's just not right. And that makes me feel better. And I always find that when you do that, the relationship gets better and stronger. And I think that's the outcome that I would want, is to lean in and stay curious. If it's somebody on the street, whatever. But if it's somebody in my life, personally, professionally, and it affects my life at work or at home, then I don't I don't want to go around and make SFDs and then be negative, because that's something bad on me. It's going to come out as, I don't know, some medical issue, I think. For me, it'll be my lupus. I'll get a lupus flare. So I would rather dig in and really get to the source, because I think, especially at work, I mean, we've hired everybody here on our team because they're good people and we think we have a good team. So let's not, I think, lean in and really dig in and find the truth. And I think that you can only get better from there. That's how I feel.
Yeah, no, I think that these kind of assumptions about people doing their best is most crucial to the people that you're closest to, like your coworkers. You see them sometimes more than your family because you spent so much time with them. And to make these compassionate, kind assumptions about each other is actually the better way to be. And when you're unable to, then check your SFDs and rumble with that and see what happens. But I'll share with you one other thing that Brene Brown said, and I really appreciate my enforcer here being so patient, but I do want to share this one more thing, which really convinced me. So I need data, like as an engineer, I need data, I need statistics. Like you can't just tell me that people are doing their best and people are just doing their best. But what Brene Brown shared in her book, I don't know if she shared the statistics in the Dare to Lead, but in Rising Strong, she shared that she did this survey to, statistically relevant number of people, where they asked two questions. One is, do you believe that you do your best as much as you can? And then the second question is, do you believe that other people do their best as much as they can? And the results were really surprising. So she said 80% of the people, or like more, believed that they do the best they can, but only about 20% of them believe that other people do the best that they can. So if you think about it, then that would mean you really feel that you're doing your best most of the time, but you don't think that about other people. Why? Because you have SFDs about those other people and you don't know everything that they're going through, right? So Denise deals with possible lupus flare-ups, and you already know about my possible depressive episodes. So then when things come up and we cancel on you, or we're not doing things the way we normally would, you would have a better understanding. You know that the SFD is challenged already because you know more. You have an EBA, emotional bank account, with us already, right? So those are all things that will help you to really believe that the person is doing their best. So think about that survey that Brene Brown did. So if you are still skeptical about this, which I completely empathize because I was very skeptical, read Rising Strong, because she really goes very deep into this concept, and it really helped a lot with just my peace of mind as well. All right. Okay. Thank you, Elena. I am done here, and I'm going to go and do our practice, our breakout room. So these are just kind of helpful questions for you to challenge your SFDs with. And I'm going to put this in our chat, but it would help if you want to take a screenshot of this right now, just in case you don't get that text or like fast enough. So just take a screenshot of these 4 questions because it's really helpful. And I want to say that Byron Katie's book, Loving What Is amazing. Like she has an incredible story, and she has just this way of teaching you about the way you think, and it complements Brene Brown's work so well. But her book came out like in the 1980s. It's like a bit of a classic, but it really complements what Brene Brown teaches. So here's our breakout exercise, and people have already told me kind of who they want to work with, and so I created the breakout rooms accordingly, but I think a couple of people might be missing, but we'll try to rejig it after. So what I want you to do with your partner is to share about a time when you got upset because you didn't believe that the other person was doing their best. And then you created SFDs, and then you created stories, and that got you really, really upset. And what happened with that? And then I want you to really think about, were you being kind and compassionate when you set those expectations for yourself? So just like what I shared with you about my husband, he is now taking on more of the directorship of my Mandarin school, and he's not doing it the way I would do it. He's not doing it as fast. I'm like, why is he so slow? But he's a really smart guy. At least travelers definitely thought so. And then I'm like, why isn't he doing it the way I want him to do it? But then I think, was I being compassionate to myself when I was the director? You know, what was I setting realistic expectations for myself? So maybe the way he's doing it, it's actually the way that is more sustainable. And then talk about how would you rumble with that situation now? It could be a situation you're in right now, or it could be a situation you were in before. It could be at work, it could be personal, doesn't matter. So just pick something between the two of you, and then I'm going to ask you to share with the bigger group. And is it all right if I ask everyone for 5 extra minutes, because we spend more time talking about doing your best? Is that okay, everybody? 5 minutes? I'm sure everybody knows by now not to schedule 1 o'clock meetings after authentic communications, because I'm always late, right? Setting expectations. Okay, I'm creating the breakout room now. So look for your name and then click on the room with your name on it. Is everyone able to see that? Can you see all the rooms? Okay, great. Denise got it. Jim is in. So look at the breakout room. It's the little button. If you click on more, the 3 dots, click on the more, and then you'll be able to see the breakout rooms. And so most of you are, some of you are in, some of you are not in. Let me know if you need help getting in, okay? Just keep your hand up if you're having trouble getting it. Okay, I will put you in. Who else? Sarah. Okay, Sarah. And Raul. Let's see. And Joanna. And who else? Marlon. Corrine. No, Corrine's in. Brian.
I'm not in.
Oh, you're not? Okay, it's showing me here that you're in. Okay, never mind. Corrine, you are now in, and Jacqueline is in. Aisha. Okay. Yomi. And Tracy. Tracy, okay, hold on, Tracy. Tracy. John. Aisha. Aisha, John, are you okay? Aisha, who do you want to go with? Who do you want to work with? Do you want to go with Corinne and Yomi, Denise and Lena, John and Raul?
John and
Riley?
Raul.
John, Raul, okay. There you go. Did you see the invitation? Perfect.
Passionate how it was resolved. So yeah. Just reminding Yomi what we're supposed to talk about so he can go first.
Yeah, I put it in the chat room too.
Oh, really? She put me on the spot there.
Yeah.
It was supposed to-
That's okay.
Yeah.
Let me know if you can see it in the chat room. I put what you're supposed to talk about there too.
Where it says chat?
Yeah, if you click on
No,
chat, you'll see.
It's not.
Oh, is it not up?
No.
No.
But it's okay, Yomi, you can start talking.
Okay, all right, start talking.
Okay, yes, I'm just thinking. Well, maybe I have a couple, but I'll just I remember when I was in the bank when I was working in the bank, and I just onboard most new intakes right from the bank's training school, and then I've had a lot of people who have had to sort of guide, yeah, and then maybe there was this particular lady that wasn't just getting it, like the time frame that I was supposed to teach her for quote unquote maybe like 3 months. She wasn't just getting it, and then I felt, oh, maybe like why would only you not get it, out of say maybe 4 people. And
Where my parents, hi Yolanda, we're just talking about this is enough, or not having scarcity and being accepting of ourselves, and how when we're not, it comes out hard on other people. Like when you're hard on other people, I think that comes from some source of self being hard on yourself, for
Yes,
sure. Yeah.
definitely. And being unforgiving of your own faults and inadequacies makes you harsher on other people too, definitely. So you ladies are doing okay?
Yeah.
I'm just circulating around.
That's so cool how you go in and out of these rooms.
Like, boo.
It is.
All right. Continue.
I was reading.
Like my,
Hi.
hey,
Visiting.
Yolanda.
How are you two
I
doing?
was just saying that, good. I was just sharing my shitty first draft with my son, where I thought he was, being lazy and not committing to what he was doing, but he was actually coming from a place of, he was actually anxious and scared about a situation that was causing him. So, one thing I'm learning or trying to learn through this and other means is that, like, your thoughts are not you. Like, they just pass through your mind and you get to determine what you want to do with it later. So in this situation, in hindsight, when I had that my kid's lazy, I'm like, well, that's one angle I could take that's going to piss me off. Or like Sarah said, I could ask him why
Yeah.
and stop assuming, right? Or put another thought in my head. Maybe he's got some other anxiety issue and approach it from that angle because it's better for both of us. So just know that your mind makes thoughts. That's its job. But those thoughts aren't always you.
Yeah. And they're not always true.
And they're not always true. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And lately, I was really doing a lot of research into the way we look at our children and the words that we choose to use and how it shapes them. And there's a great book called How to Talk to Our Kids So They Will Listen, and How to Listen So They Will Talk. And I would really highly recommend this book to anyone with a child, really, because I really learned a lot about how I've been creating a role for my daughter in my mind and how I use those words and how it shapes who she is. And this happens with coworkers too, but obviously more impactful when it's your child.
Yes, for sure. For sure. So,
I'll send that to you. I'll send it to you by email.
Yeah, I just found it. I just Googled it. So thank you.
It's a really old book. And some of the words they choose, I'm like, what year are they from? But the concept is so powerful that combined with my training with 7 Habits, I was like, wow, why didn't I think of it this way? So no, I really liked it. All right, I'm going to visit other rings now. Continue. Hopefully you guys will share with us.
Thanks.
All right.
Actually, hello.
I'm just visiting. How are you guys doing?
Good. I gave John an example. Should I share it? Yeah. So mine was like, we have a friend in our group chat that we would always invite out to plans, and like, if we're going out drinking or if we're, going to a Jays game, but he kept making excuses why he couldn't come out. So we just assumed like over time after he got married, he would come out less and less and less. We just assumed his wife hated us. And she wasn't like, she's the reason why he can't come out and hang out with us anymore. But then like later down the line, we found out that like he had a bulging disc in his back, couldn't stand up, couldn't walk, couldn't even go to work anymore, and all this stuff. So that was the actual reasons, because we just kept thinking he was making up reasons. And then John asked, why do you think he wasn't comfortable telling you right away? Now, I don't know how to share this in the group, but like,
Yeah.
when someone doesn't show up to plans in our group chat, we kind of just chirp them. Like as, I don't know, that's just the way this group chat is. Like we would call them like, you know, names and just, you know, make fun of them and whatnot. So maybe that's why he didn't want to tell us. So yeah.
Maybe, do you think, could that be it?
Yeah, but it's all in good fun. None
Yeah,
of
of
it's
course,
like, yeah, none of it's like serious, but
Yeah.
that's probably had something to do with it. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, just possibly could be. Possibly, yeah. But I think that's really great though, you know, that you're digging deeper, right? Instead of just like writing somebody off or writing his wife off to say, because I feel like I might have been on the receiving end of some of those SFDs from my husband's friends, but it's usually not because I don't want him to go. It's usually because he's lazy. But then they could say, I could totally hear them say that about me, but nobody's ever checked it with me before. So I really appreciate you doing that. You're starting a movement to exonerate these misunderstood wives that are not like doing anything. So
well, like the thing is, I've hung out with him and his wife before, and then sometimes we don't always get along. So like maybe that's why we're like, I jumped to that conclusion, but
you have reasons. Yeah. I
Yeah.
get that. Yeah. And for my husband's friends, they know I'm the louder one. So then they just think, oh, she must just be a bee, like at home, and then it doesn't let him do anything. But yeah, no, I totally get that.
So
I think that's great. I think it's great for men to be able to have these conversations and not like blame the wife.
jump to conclusions and stuff. Yeah.
You know, well, I'm gonna go back to the main room.
Okay.
I'll see you guys there. I hope that you might be comfortable sharing parts of it, not even if
Okay.
it's not all.
All right, sounds
Awesome.
good.
See you guys later.
Yeah.
Okay, sick.
Hi, everyone got back so fast. Aisha, I wasn't sure what happened with, I was trying to move you to different places. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I'm
I hope
supposed
you're
to be
okay.
with Jacqueline. I'm supposed to be with Jacqueline.
Oh,
Can you add me to her breakout room?
sure. We actually all came back now to the same
Oh.
breakout room. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what happened. It got my bad. In the future, if something like that happens, send me a private message. No matter which room you're in, then I will get it. Like if there's a mistake in assignment. So send me like a private message. Sorry about that, Aisha and Jacqueline. All right. So does anybody want to share about what they talked about in terms of a time when they didn't feel like someone was trying their best and how you kind of may rumble with that now?
Got one.
I talked to a few pairs and made you all say that you would share. So who would like to go first?
I'll go on this one. So I told you the one I had, but so we have a group chat with like a few of our friends. One of our friends in our group chat kept making excuses every time we would make plans, like he couldn't come out but he would not like really give us a reason. So eventually we just all assumed that like his wife didn't like us and then she wasn't the one letting him out, and like that's why. But then like down the line we found out like he had a bulging disc, had to take time off work, couldn't stand anymore. So we totally just jumped to that conclusion, which wasn't right. And then John did ask another thing, like, why do you think he didn't want to tell you guys? And then a lot of it was when someone makes up an excuse not to hang out, we would all just jump on them and like start chirping them for X, Y, and Z. So he probably just didn't want to tell us the actual reason why. So that was ours. Yeah.
That's a great share. And it's hard, I know, for guys to admit that too, you know, to say that, oh, maybe I did actually kind of cost it, or maybe definitely cost it. But I really like that, because I think how many wives are being misunderstood without being exonerated this way. So I feel like Raul and John may have been starting a movement to really exonerate these misunderstood wives. I think I'm part of that group as well. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. Can we give them a big jazz hands? Love it. Can we have one more share, one more group, if you want to share with us what you talked about?
I'll jump in.
Okay, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, so I was mine was with one of my boys, who's a boxer. He's been boxing for a little while. He's only 13, but he's quite good. And he's been working with this one coach, but then the coach said, you're ready to jump into these other group sessions that they have. And my son wasn't doing it. Like, he kept making an excuse to not go. And, he was not working. Like, I'm like, why are you being so lazy? Why are you not taking advantage of this opportunity? You're being lazy. But then I found out that that wasn't the case. He was just really anxious and scared because he's 13 and everybody else is adults in this program. So it was coming from a place of like anxiety and fear. Like, he's going to be the new kid, the young kid. So we were able to deal with that. I talked to him about it and we sort of eased him into it. But, for a week, I was giving him a hard time because I didn't think he was doing his best.
Right.
So,
and now you have a deeper understanding of what he's going through, and
right.
You can support him in ways that you wouldn't have even known that he needs support in, right?
Correct.
That's so important.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in Jim's breakout room, I shared about a book, which I'll share with the group as well. I know not everyone here has kids, but I just finished reading a book recently called How to Talk to Your Kids So They Will Listen, and How to Listen So They Will Talk. And it was a transformative view for me because it made me realize that I, as a parent, create roles about my kid, whether it's labeling them as lazy or labeling them as forgetful. Even the words I choose to say to them will create the realities of their life. And we actually do that as coworkers too. So labeling somebody as the loud one, or labeling somebody as the quiet one, or somebody as the difficult one, we actually inadvertently put on these glasses to look at these coworkers. I just saw how great this looks. Maybe I should wear this all the time. Then, your words actually create the reality of your relationships. So when Jim was sharing about that, it just reminded me that it's so true of all relationships, even with our partners, or with our best friends. So I think that's something to really check in with yourselves. And that, Jim, share about this thing you said about thoughts with the group. I'm going to just get something quickly.
Yeah, I said that, we are not our thoughts. Like, our mind's job is to produce thoughts. And those thoughts aren't ours. We don't have to believe every single one of them. We take, you take the good ones and discard the bad ones. So, if we have a thought, that doesn't mean that it's true, that it represents us. It's just a thought. So, it's powerful to be able to acknowledge and say, all right, I'm not going with that one, or I am going with that one. So.
Yep, exactly. It's the concept of choice. And I'm just going to recommend one more book before we can finish today. It's not just because I am featured in this book, but it is kind of. The author of this book, I'm a huge fan of him. He does amazing work on gender studies. So for those of you who have boys, who have girls, he has books written about how to support boys and how to support girls. So the one that I'm featured in is called Girls on the Edge. Brian, you need to read this book. Like, as father of a girl, like, this is an amazing book. And I'm in it. So that's also why I should read it. It's a great book. So I'm going to send these recommendations in the email as well. And now I'm just going to share with you our prep work before our last session. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Our next week is the last session. No, well, it's not really, because we have our team challenge, but still. Okay, so these are the 3 things I need you to do for your prep work, which I will send you by email as well. So the first thing I want you to do for the Authentic Communications Team Challenge is to think of any authentic scenarios that you might want me to use. And the benefit of that is if it's a scenario you chose that I'm using, then you have an advantage with your team to do that. And also what I've decided to do in terms of teams, because only one person came forward to pick a partner. So then what I decided to do is to actually do an interesting challenge where it's going to be the individual contributors versus the leadership team. And it will be a role play against a surprise judge that I will be inviting, who is an expert in EDI, which is inclusive, equality, diversity, and inclusion. And she's going to be the judge and role play with you on the scenario. I'll tell you more details next week, but right now just know that it's actually going to be a team challenge between the leadership team and the individual contributors. And you're going to be doing a role reversal. So the leadership team is going to be playing individual contributors, and the individual contributor team is going to be playing leaders. And with the scenario that will be revealed on the day of the competition. So if you send some to me, then I can look through those and see if I want to choose one of those as the actual scenario to use. Most of you have already done the midpoint feedback. If you haven't, please be sure to do it. It really means a lot for me to collect some of your feedback and what could make this session even better. And we have one more left. So that would be really awesome. And for reading, oh, and also I'll be sending you 2 handouts for you to read over for the communications challenge. And then for the reading, we didn't talk about shame resilience today. I will be combining that with our lesson on trauma for session 5. So page 136 to 157. And then I want you to read about the braving inventory. So that's kind of summarizes everything for what you're going to need for all kinds of rumbles. And that's going to be page 223 to 238. And I'll send you 2 links to Brene Brown's videos, which is a total of half an hour, but they're really good, like really good videos. So I'm going to send you the links for you to read, for you to watch. So any questions before we go today? And I appreciate the extra time for me to finish talking about these things with you. Thank you, Elena. Kudos to Elena for being my enforcer. I really appreciate that. Thank you to Denise and Jim for being my co-hosts, letting people in. And thank you to everybody for participating. Any questions before we go? No? All right, so I'll see you for our last content session on next week, next Thursday. Have a great week, and I hope you can try out my self-love meditation to increase some self-compassion.
Thanks,
Bye.
Thank you.